Are you doing things the hard way with your Cricut and don't even know it? Today, I'm going to show you the easiest ways to fix the most common Cricut mistakes, the one everyone makes, the beginners and the experienced crafters alike. These are the time-saving, frustration-busting tips, at least I hope that you find them that way, that make every project smoother, faster, and a lot more fun. So we are going to kiss our Cricuts, Kiss, keep it simple, sweetheart. I would never call anyone stupid. Kiss our Cricuts today, okay? Hello everybody, I'm Jennifer Maker, and it's a beautiful day to make Cricut crafting easier. Now, when I first began with my very first Cricut in 2017, I found myself doing lots of things the hard way. And I really wished back then I had someone to tell me what to do to make it all easier. And I think that it really would have helped me out and given me even more confidence to make more things in the beginning. But as I say, I make the mistakes so you don't have to. And I have made it my mission to pass along what I know to help you go further, faster with your Cricut. Oh, and before we're done, I will share one, in my opinion, amazing time-saving trick that even I had forgotten about until a community member reminded me this week. I think you're going to love it, and I'm going to want to know if you've been doing it this way all along. I also have a free cheat sheet to share with you at the end of class. It has every easy fix to every hard thing that I'm sharing in it today, so you don't have to take notes today, okay? And I'll let you know where to find that at the end of class. So please pull up a chair here at my desk in my awesome new studio, and let's chat all about how to Cricut the easier way. And also, before I get started, I just want to welcome all of my Maker Mingle event participants. This is a special class I'm doing in preparation for Maker Mingle that starts in less than a week now. We'll be using our Cricut cutting machines for many of our awesome craft projects, so I wanted to chat about it and make sure we're all good to go. Everyone is invited to join us free. You can get on the gift list for the free tutorials and designs at makermingle.com. I have 25 amazing projects to share, and I have a fun crafty countdown, and currently there are over 20,000 other crafters and makers who have signed up, which is awesome. We usually have well over 100,000 by the time, we're like, I don't know, midway through. And if you stay to the end of this video, I will give you a sneak peek at the projects for Maker Mingle, answer your questions, and share a bonus word for our gift away game too. Okay? So, these Cricut machines are pretty amazing, right? They can cut, draw, foil, and they can take our crafts from simple to spectacular. I've got nearly every model out here with me today, including the Maker 4 here on my desk. So no matter which one you use, the Maker, Explore, or Joy, you are in exactly the right place. Today, I'm sharing all of the easy fixes that I really wished I'd known sooner in my own Cricut journey. Now, I think that these are total game changers, and even if just one makes your crafting life easier, then I will count that as a win. If it does, let me know in the chat. If you like it, oh, light bulb goes off, I want to know about it, okay? So the first thing I think people do the hard way with their Cricuts is possibly the most common. They don't use them. They're still in the box or sitting on a shelf waiting for someday. And I get it, I do. These machines can feel a little intimidating at first. Did you feel this way? You're not alone, you aren't. There are so many materials, buttons, tools, cables, cords, choices that it's easy to freeze up before you even start. The easy fix here is to take one tiny no pressure step. Open the box, plug it in, pick a simple free project, even a card, just like a card. That's what I suggest, and hit make it. That's it. Once you see your Cricut actually doing the thing, even if it's not perfect, your fear does melt away. You realize, I can totally do this. And this is very important. It's not about making something perfect. It's just about starting. And I have a free mini course called Cricut Kickoff that can walk you through this super easy. You can do it with me, and you can start it at cricutkickoff.com. The next one is the first mistake that I personally made when I got my first Cricut. I was buying new blades too often. So in the beginning, it seemed like the Cricut was dull the moment that it started cutting a little rough. and I went to the store. I went to Joann's, which is now closed, unfortunately. But I went to the store to buy more. But the thing is that most of the time, your blade is not dull. It's just dirty. Tiny bits of paper, adhesive, or glitter get stuck to the blade, and that buildup makes your cuts look jagged or incomplete, or it just kind of tears across, or it's just a mess. It's not always clear that's what's going on, but chances are it is. So the easy fix here is to clean your blades. So I've got my alcohol prep pad here, and you don't have to do this, but this makes it really easy to just clean it whenever you need to. Try to get it out here. All right. So here is our housing with the blade in it. Again, you just can poke that blade and you see it come out, right? So you just take your alcohol pad and carefully, do not cut yourself. This is very sharp. You just go like this, right? Now, if you pull on it too hard, it will come out, right? Right? So you don't want to do that. You just want to get it clean. The alcohol dissolves any adhesive, and just the act of doing this removes, little bits of stuff, right? That's it. That's all you do, right? And then you just put it back into your machine, and you just put it back in here. I don't want to forget it. That's it, right? I also like to use aluminum foil to do this. That's what I've been doing for years. But it's a little controversial these days. So I just usually teach you with the alcohol these days. I still use aluminum foil, and it works just fine. Now, on the off chance that you do need to replace your blade, because occasionally something happens, I highly recommend that you get another Cricut Premium Fine Point blade. Not a knockoff and not a non-premium blade. The blades are pretty particular, and I get the best results from the premium Cricut blade. But if you keep your blade clean, you probably won't need a new blade for a very, very long time. I am not exaggerating when I say I really just don't change my blades. Okay? All right, another thing I see people doing the hard way is thinking their machine mat, is done for the moment it stops feeling sticky. So they toss it out and they buy a new one. But most of the time, your mat isn't worn out. It's just dirty. Little bits of paper, lint, and dust cling to the adhesive surface. This one is not very sticky. And over time, they create a rough surface that keeps your materials from sticking properly. The easy fix here is to, again, clean your mat instead of just instantly replacing it. I recommend using an alcohol-free baby wipe to clean it. All right, so let me show you what I mean. All right, so you can see my dirty mat here, right? The first thing you want to do is use your Cricut scraper or like a old plastic card to remove all of the big stuff, right? So there's a lot of big stuff on this. Well, it looks like most of it. This is a pretty dingy mat, but I do want you to see that it's got some, can you see the glitter on it too? Yeah, it's kind of, but this is a mess. This one is definitely what you would be like, oh no, it's not going to work so well. It's not very sticky. The glitter is right here, but you can get all of this off. This makes it a lot easier, which by the way is actually using the scraper to clean your mat is another easy fix for a hard thing. A lot of times when people use the Cricut and go to, just like take the things off, you take the little bits off with your fingernails and it takes like 15 minutes. Yeah. And the funny thing is that even though I've been doing this for a really long time, I somehow always default to that. Like I forget that I've got a much easier way to do it. I think I'm always just, like in a hurry, and my scraper is not, it's buried under a piece of paper or it's somewhere else. Okay. That's good enough. All right, so, and then you want to take something like an alcohol-free baby wipe or some mild dishwashing detergent and a lint-free cloth, right? Don't use anything with alcohol. It's important. Don't use any strong cleaners, right? Because it can completely remove your adhesive, right? And you just use circular motions like this, right? And you just do this, and what it's doing is it's getting off all the stuff that you can't just get off with your scraper, right? And I can already see it coming off, which is awesome. I don't know, you can kind of see here, right? So give it like 10 to 15 minutes to dry completely. Air dry. I just let it air dry and it'll be good to go again, right? When it's ready, it will feel tacky, like you'll be able to put a piece of paper on it and it won't just move around. This simple habit can double or even triple the life of your mats. So instead of spending a bunch of money, on this, you can use it on more craft supplies or whatever, right? Donating food. It's a really good time to be donating some food, guys. Now, I also want to point out how important a clean, sticky mat is for getting those crisp, perfect cuts. I didn't realize this when I first started, and I struggled for way too long because of it. An old mat can look fine and even feel a little sticky. This one is a little sticky. See how it kind of pulls up with my fingers, right? But if your material can shift even a tiny bit while it's cutting, you are going to get rough edges, tearing, or cuts that just don't line up. So a quick test is just press a piece of paper onto the mat and then try to slide it with your fingers. If it moves at all, the mat is not sticky enough for good results. I definitely kept an old worn out mat much longer than I should have in the beginning, just not realizing that simply switching to a clean or a fresh mat would have solved like half of my issues, right? Now, if cleaning does not bring your mat back to life, it's totally okay to replace it. I am not judging you for replacing your mats. In fact, I recommend you try to grab extras when they go on sale, so you've always got a backup ready. Okay, so there's nothing worse than like being in a project and having no mat, right? Mats often go on sale on Amazon and on Cricut. And when I see deals, I put them onto my Facebook page at facebook.com/Jennifer Maker Crafts. Now, what I don't recommend is that you try to re-stick your mats with spray adhesives or glue. I know it's tempting, but if you apply too much or the wrong kind, it can totally gunk up your rollers on your Cricut and even stop it from working properly. Unfortunately, it can also void your warranty, or worse, just completely ruin your machine. I do not think it's worth the risk. So keep your mats clean and replace them when needed. All right, I will finish this one later. I do want to say though that I used to throw out mats really pretty quickly once I realized they weren't sticky over time. But you can actually use different colored mats for different projects as they lose their stickiness. For example, you can use a purple strong grip mat in place of a green standard grip mat and an older green mat in place of a blue mat. I have done this so many times in a pinch. So keep your old and busted purple and green mats and use them for projects that don't need as much adhesive to cut well. And then before we move off the topic of mats, because they are really just so important, and I think a lot of people just don't understand that, let me share one more mat tip that I learned the hard way. I have wasted so much time on big projects simply because I didn't have enough mats ready to go. So having multiple mats on hand makes a huge difference because you can prep each one. You see how I got a whole bunch here. You can prep each one with your next sheet of material while your Cricut is cutting the current one. And then as soon as it's finished, you just swap them out quickly. There's no waiting, there's no slowing down. It is so much faster to do it this way. Has anyone ever done this? So when you go to buy new mats, get a few extras so you have them on hand for big projects. Now, and I actually have, this is a variety pack that I got, and I think it's got like it's got 5 the green mats, 2 of the purple, and 3 of the blue, or something like that, whatever. This is perfect because green is the one that you're going to use the most, regardless of what anyone says. I'm just going to be honest with you. Green is the one that is your go-to mat, right? If you're not sure, just start with green and then move up or move down. This is true for cardstock as well. So Cricut will tell you to use the blue mat for cardstock. I don't think you should use the blue mat for cardstock. I think instead that you should use the green mat. You'll get a much cleaner cut. if you love the blue mat and keep using it, yeah, I'm not going to change your mind on that. If it works for you, if anything that I say differently is already working for you, just do what you're doing. But if you are new to using mats, green is my go-to mat. Okay. The next thing I did for far too long was cutting too many mats because I wasn't fitting as much as I could onto each one. So when you're working on a big project, it's really easy to just let Cricut Design Space decide where to place everything. But by default, it often spreads your pieces out across multiple mats, even when they could fit together on fewer. And that means more mats, more material, and more time cutting. So the easy fix here is just to take a moment before you cut to move your shapes around manually in Cricut Design Space. And we're going to head on over there so I can show you how this works. Here we are in Cricut Design Space. Now, I just put an image up here so that we could see. Let me make sure I'm actually in it. And you can see my mouse. Okay, so let's say I want to cut these out, right? 4 hearts, handmade with love. And I'm just going to click on Make It. There we go. I have 2 mice on my screen. It's getting confusing. Okay, on mat. Okay, so this is your preview screen, right? So by default, it puts these hearts onto individual mats like this. Yeah, like that's a complete waste of material. So what you can do is consolidate these. You can get at least 2 hearts, maybe only 2 hearts, but so what you do is you go to one of the mats that has a second heart, right? And you just click these 3 dots right here and you do Move Object and you say, I want it like on the first mat, right? And you click Confirm. And now it'll just show up in the same spot that it was already. So you can click and drag it around, right? Okay, so this doesn't fit. Jennifer, you're wrong. Well, you can rotate it into place, right? So I'm gonna just put it in the center here. I'm gonna hold down my Shift key. You don't have to, but if you do it, it'll turn in nice increments like this. And then there you go, right? It fits now. And I'm gonna bring up my little picture of my face because I know that makes it easier sometimes to understand what I'm saying. I don't see it here. Oh wait, it is here. I'm just looking at the wrong screen. It's here, right? Yes, okay. I'm like looking at my screen and I can't see your screen. Okay, so yes. So this is like really, really useful. By the way, something else that I tend to forget that you can do is you can select more than one item at a time when you're moving them to new mats, if you didn't know this. So let's say I want to move both of these to one of the other mats. You can just hold down the Shift key. So, you can do it one by one if you really want. That's fine. But you can hold down the Shift key and it selects both, right? So I held down the Shift key. Let's actually show you what I'm doing because I think that's useful too. So here's the overhead. There's my baby wipe. We don't need to see that. All right, so here's my keyboard, right? Shift key. Just hold down the Shift key as you're selecting them. All right, so I'm going to do it again so that you can see. So I'm going to unselect. So there's one. I just click on it, hold down that Shift key, and now I've got both of them, right? And now we just go up here, move object, and let's just stick them back over here. And there they are. And you can still move around and everything like you did before, right? So this is just really useful in my opinion if you do this a lot, right? And then after you click Make It, you can just, so this is always after you click Make It. Now that said, if you really, if it bugs you that you're always like doing this on projects that you make a lot, you can actually kind of like put things onto, into a square-ish area of the size of your mat and just attach everything, right? And then every time you go to make that project, it will stay in the same crazy arrangement that you made. But what's important here is that a little rearranging can often turn 4 mats into 2 or 2 into 1. And that means less material waste and faster cutting and the more things you can make, right? And you will feel super efficient when you see how much more you can fit. Truly, it's a big deal. Okay, here's another mistake I used to make all the time. Cutting one small thing per mat, even when I had lots of scraps or, that I could have used just fine. and I could have put them all together on one mat. So the easy fix here is to combine multiple small pieces of material onto one mat and cut them all at once. It saves time, it saves mats, and it makes really great use of your scraps. Okay, let's say we want to cut something out of red glitter, and I have this piece of scrap. I'm going to stick it on my mat. I don't even know if this is a very sticky mat. Sticky enough for our purposes for right now. Okay, and then I have a piece that I want to cut of green. So in the beginning, I would put my red on my mat and I would cut my red. And then I would put my green on my mat and cut my green. And that means swapping it out twice, or once or whatever. And then also having to set my material, right? And then, whatever. It's the extra time and hassle and everything. So instead, my recommendation is to put all of your scraps onto one mat, okay? So let's say I'm gonna do red and green. So of course you're like, okay, awesome, Jennifer. How does that work? Because how does it know to do this? Okay, so let's go back to Cricut Design Space. All right, so now if I just go right now to make, I should get two mats. I get the light red mat and I get the green mat, okay? So let's cancel that. And what we're gonna do is actually just change these both to the same color. Let's change them both to red. This is important that they both be the same color because then it gets forced to be on the same mat. So now they're all red, okay? Now let's go to make and we'll say on mat again. And now we've got this red. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. Okay, so here's our heart. You can see our heart, right? And we're gonna put this in the upper corner right here, right? This is where our red scrap is. And then we're gonna go back and we're gonna move this one which we know is green down to this corner because that is where we put our green scrap. And so now when we go to cut it, it's gonna cut out the red and it's gonna cut out the green. And it's gonna be so much easier. You can fill your mat with like 9, 10, I don't care how many pieces all you gotta do is just make sure they're in the right spot. And I like to use the grids on my mat and match it up to the grids in Cricut Design Space, right? So the grid lines are all right here, right? It's just such a time saver. It really is. It does take a little practice, right? Just even thinking this way, but it really is a big deal, right? And so all I'm doing, right, is just moving the things to the spots they need to be. Right, so you just have to pay attention. Like, so if you look at this one, the green one, you just got to make sure it's in the same spot. So it matches the location of the material that I placed on my mat, all right? And so, then when you cut, each shape lands right on the correct piece of material, no guessing, no wasted cuts, because that's not a time saver. And if you're using a Cricut machine that supports Snap Mat, like on an iPhone, right? You can take a quick photo of your mat and it visually will place your designs right over your real materials on your mat. Now, I'll be honest, I don't usually bother with Snap Mat because I prefer to cut on the desktop version of Cricut Design Space. It's nice and big, I can see things better. But if you like to use your phone or an iPad, you can use Snap Mat. This little trick is one of my favorites because it saves both time and materials. And I think it's one of these small things that makes you feel like you've officially leveled up your Cricut game. That's how I felt when I started doing it. Okay, I also used to do a test cut in the hard way. So I've been doing test cuts on any new material I get that I don't feel 100% confident that I can cut properly since the very beginning, because I'm a testing kind of person. But I haven't always done it the easy way. And I think a lot of people skip test cuts because they think they're too much hassle. They don't want to unload the mat, change the material, and start again. But the thing is, you can test your cut right on the same mat that you're already using. So to do a test cut the easy way, you just add a tiny shape, like a heart or a star, in an empty area of your mat, of your design, of your material, right, before cutting. So I usually just add a tiny little heart shape in the lower left corner. That way it doesn't get in the way of my actual design, and it's also really easy to check because it's like way down here. And then I just check to make sure that it cut before I unloaded my mat. If it works, I cut out my design. If it doesn't, I increase my pressure, or I change my material setting, whatever I need to do. Sometimes you can also press the middle button. Can you see that? Yeah, the middle button again on the Maker and the Explore at least, and that will also recut it. As long as you didn't unload your mat, it will cut it in the same place. And this time it cuts a little deeper since there's already a cut there. So always do a test cut. It breaks my heart when I see people posting about how they've wasted materials. And I don't want you to waste material either, okay? So let me just show you real quick in Design Space where to put that test. So let's go back to Cricut Design Space and let's cancel this out. Okay, we already have a heart here, so let's use a different shape. Let's get a star. You just click on Shapes, and you want to use one from the free section. And let's get a star out. So there's a little star, it's like 1 inch tall. Really easy, you can make it smaller if you want. And all I do is, I'm just going to keep it right here, but we got to change it to the same color as our other things. And I think I'm going to change everything to white because the red is kind of hard to see. Let's see if that helps us. All right, it's all white now. All right, so let's go to Make on Mat. Okay, yes, that's easier to see. So all I do, let's say I'm cutting I've got my material on the mat and I'm just cutting it whatever here. I take the star or heart or whatever it is and I drag it down to the lower left corner. And the reason why I like it down there is because when my mat comes out of my machine, right? Can you see this? You can kind of see it. When it comes out of the machine, it's easiest to check this corner, in my opinion. If your Cricut's on the other side of you, you could stick it in the other corner. What I don't recommend is you sticking it like up here, right? Because this is usually under your roller when it's in your machine still, and you can't really see it. You can't like get your weeding tool out and see if it worked. So move it down on your mat, and that will help. Okay, awesome. We are on what's my next one here? Number 9. All right, so let's talk about intricate cuts. If you have ever tried cutting delicate, lacy designs or like really tiny words or whatever, and ended up with shredded edges or pieces that tear when you lift them up, this one is for you. A lot of people try to do this the hard way, spending a really long time trying to get it to cut right and then to get it off of your mat without tearing. So I have an easy fix for you here. Before you cut, apply some permanent vinyl to the back of your cardstock, right? It holds all of those intricate pieces together during cutting and weeding. So your beautiful little intricate details stay intact. And after cutting, the vinyl just stays there. It's not noticeable. It is such a simple trick, but it makes even the most detailed cuts look clean and professional. I have a project and I'm going to show you the cut part of the project so you can see what I mean. Here it is. Let me just straighten up a little bit here. Okay, so this is a project from last year's Maker Academy weekend, I believe. All right, this is our holiday shadow box. As you can see, this is a very intricate project. Let me just show you this part. I mean, can you see that? Look at the detail on this. That is not insignificant, but the secret is on the back side. Can you see the shine there? That is a piece of, I think we use white vinyl on this project. And it works so well, right? So, and this is true of the whole thing. I actually have the project, I'm gonna grab it so you can see what it looks like when it is done. This project, as all of my projects are, is in my free library. I don't remember the number of it. I'll drop it in the description when we're done though. Can you see that? Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, so putting some, either white, I recommend white because usually we're using it for like intricate things like this. So some white or some clear vinyl. So here is some Cricut Glossy Permanent. This is what we used for this project. You can see it's all glossy, right? It doesn't matter, you can't, it doesn't cause an issue. And then this is making sure what I'm telling you. Now, when you're doing a shadow box, I recommend clear because you can see through it, right? It doesn't like, it won't like obstruct the light. And here is a Caesar clear vinyl, right? It doesn't really matter so long as it's a good quality vinyl. That part always matters. Those are both brands are good quality. Yeah, so it's and I have a whole tutorial on how to do this. It's with that project. It's with this project. And if anyone knows the number for this project, will you drop it into the chat so that people can find it easier? That would be awesome. I appreciate it. I should have looked that up before we began. Okay, all right, let's stick with cardstock for the next tip. Because honestly, I was cutting cardstock the wrong way for a really, really long time. Even though I started with cardstock as my first project, it's you know, there's an art to it, I think. So I used to just smooth my materials onto my mat with my hands and hope for the best, right? So, you know, I would just put them on here and just kind of go like this, right? But little air bubbles or even uneven spots can cause the cuts to lift, tear, or shift. So, but there's an easy fix to this, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. All right, so here is our mat, right? So I used to just go like this and stick it in the machine and hope for the best. But the brayer is your best friend. It really, really makes a difference. It presses out air pockets. It gets it stuck really well. It gets your material stuck really well to your mat. And it helps your Cricut cut more evenly. I mean, it's funny. I remember when I first heard about the brayer, I'm like, oh, that's just another thing I have to buy. I don't need that. This works fine. But it actually really does make a difference. It takes just a few seconds. And it's one of those, once you do it, you just never really go back to not doing it, right? It's awesome, right? Get yourself a brayer if you don't have one. Okay. So my next tip is, actually, let's stick with this. This is perfect, right? All right. So I think a lot of people are, this is a big one, really. Most people lift the material off the mat like this and wonder why it gets like, a lot of times it'll tear or it'll curl, right? And it'll be kind of a mess. This one didn't do too bad because our mat's not very sticky. But I mean, I could attempt to demonstrate that. Just for fun, I want to show you. It's really nice to have a visual. Let's go to a brand new mat. Super sticky. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. Piece of copy paper here. That's good enough. Okay, so let's get it stuck down, right? Now, nothing has been cut on it, so it might not really do it, but we'll try. We'll see if I can replicate the hard way. So you'll like try to take it off. First of all, it can be really difficult to get off, right? Like I'm struggling right now. Okay, so it curls. It also ripped on me. Not so bad. I've seen it do much worse. Of course, that's not so great, but you know. So what you want to do instead of this, and I will demonstrate with another piece of copy paper. We'll just use our cheat sheet right here. I'll put it on this way though, so that I don't get like, just in case the ink is still wet or something. Okay, we're going to brayer it down just like we did so that you can see the difference, okay? So what you want to do, and I know some of you will know this, if you've watched any of my tutorials, you've seen me do this like hundreds of times. You want to flip it over onto your surface like this. And then you actually want to lift the mat away from the paper instead of lift the paper away from the mat, or whatever material you have on there, really. It works like this for vinyl too. So you see how it's actually already coming off right here for us, right? So it makes a huge difference. So you just do this instead, and you get this versus this, right? So big, gigantic difference there. And like this didn't even rip. That's the worst, is when it rips and tears. And yeah, so flip your materials over before you remove them from the mat. Okay, that was a lot of cardstock talk. Let's talk about vinyl and how a lot of people are weeding the hard way. When your vinyl design is full of tiny letters or details, normal weeding can feel impossible. You start pulling up pieces that you actually need. Sometimes things like stretch out on you. It's like enough to drive you crazy. It really drove me crazy, I'll be honest. But there's something you can do, and it's called reverse weeding. I'm going to grab a project over here to show you. This is my cardinal vase, another free design in my library. This vase was made when my uncle passed away from COVID. 5 years ago now, 4 years ago. Okay, so it's a remembrance vase. That matters because what I'm about to show you. All right, so take a look at, yeah, this is detailed, but I want you to see these tiny letters at the top. You see those? It says, there we go. No one is truly lost when they remain in the hearts and minds of those who love them. Okay, those are some very little letters. Very little. They're not even half an inch tall. Maybe not even a quarter inch tall. They're very small. But as you can see, this is vinyl, right? Hopefully you can see that. There's a little bit of a shine to it, right? And I obviously successfully transferred this. I did it using the reverse weeding method. And basically with reverse weeding, all you want to do is you lay transfer tape down over the unweeded vinyl first, and then you burnish it down, right? Burnishing it down, right? This or your scraper, right? And then you peel the backing off. And then you weed on top of the transfer tape, keeping everything perfectly in place. It is a total game changer for intricate vinyl projects. Now, I'm not going to attempt to demonstrate this one for you because we would be here for a while, but I have a tutorial, and it is at jennifermaker.com/reverse weed tutorial. And I have some of the pieces here. We actually demonstrate with this Let It Snow design, which is really pretty, and it's intricate, and this is vinyl, right? So this is a good one to learn on. I recommend learning on one with that's maybe not quite so crazy as this one. This one is it was harder. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Practice reverse weeding on one with some bigger pieces so you can get an idea for the technique, and then go for the harder ones. All right, let's stick with weeding for a little bit, or vinyl. Let's stick with vinyl for a little bit. And we're going to talk about weeding in dim lighting. Trying to weed tiny designs without good lighting is like trying to thread a needle in the dark. It is so hard. It is so hard. The easy fix here is to do something like use a bright pad, which is a light box, right? And you just put it under your vinyl and then you can see the lines. So let's demonstrate. So here is my bright pad. And do I have a piece of vinyl that's cut here? I don't, so we're just going to pretend. So let's go back to the Let It Snow design, right? This is what it looks like. It's very pretty. And we're just going to set it on here. And if this was all one piece of vinyl, chances are it would be really difficult to see this, especially because it's glitter. Glitter vinyl is like the worst for seeing the lines. It's like chunkier. It's really hard. Especially light colored vinyl is the worst. But when you turn on your light, you see how it illuminates that so much nicer. It's a huge deal. It really, really makes things better. This is the Cricut the Cricut Bright Pad. There's other light boxes you can use if you can't afford a bright pad, because I'm never going to be the person that says you have to have just this tool, right? There's always a different way of doing it. But if you can't use a bright pad because you can't afford one or can't find one, there's other things that you can do. You can just get out a bright light and set it like on your desk and shine it down. And then angle it so that you can see your lines. That helps a lot. I will sometimes do that in the pinch when I don't have my bright pad. If you have a window and it's bright outside, just go put your thing up against the window and the light, it'll act like a light box for you. I've also done that one. So it really makes a big difference because what's happening is the light is shining through the cut lines so you can see every one of those much more clearly, and you don't have to guess at where the design edges are. When you guess is when you're kind of off by a little bit and you end up pulling up the wrong piece or you're sort of like in the middle of the section and it kind of just tears and looks bad. So it helps you with time, it helps you with frustration, and it helps look better too. Your project usually turns out better. All right, number 14 is placing vinyl the hard way. So lining up vinyl by eye tends to lead to crooked designs, wasted material because you have to start all over again. It's also just really frustrating and difficult. So my easy fix is to try the taco method. So you want to just mark your surface's center with something like a pencil or a piece of tape, and then you bend your transfer tape with the design on it. I'm going to demonstrate with this one into like a taco shape, sticky side down, and then you line up the center with a mark that you made on your surface. Okay, so let's find something to mark, like a project here. I didn't prepare something for us to place this onto. Greg, you got something for me I can use? I don't care what it is. I would say that little Lowe's container, but it's too big for us. That would have been cute. Find me something to put this on. It's this big, so I can show them how it works. Do you all know what I mean by when I say the taco method? I'm looking at it while he goes to retrieve something for us to do this with. I'm just gonna look at the comments because I'm just talking, and I'm not looking at them. Oh, yeah, someone said I thought there were only 12. Yeah, so you guys know me. I like to do more than I say. It's just the way that I am. So I went past 12 and I have more than 12 today. I don't know exactly how many. Sure, bring that over. I'll try it. It might be a little bit, here, let me see it. I can show everybody how cute this is anyways. Thank you. So you guys see this? Greg got it for me at Lowe's, right? This is super cute little cobalt toolbox. I haven't put anything in it yet. Isn't it cute? As far as I'm concerned, sorry, this is a little side. You got to get the other thing for me, Greg, so I can show them. Go get me the other thing that you got for me, that you got 60 of. Have you seen, okay, I'm totally going off topic here. I just got to show you. Have you seen these? No, this top isn't on. It's so cute. It's a little, 5-gallon bucket. Obviously not 5-gallon. We have screws in there right now. And then they have these little cobalt toolboxes with a handle and this little tray inside. Thank you. And then they have these. They're so cute. Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen these? So they're at Lowe's, right? They recently showed up there. And I don't know if Greg told me about it or I told him about it, but he had to get them. And didn't you get like 60 of these, Greg? Yeah, he's nodding. He got 60. But aren't they cute? I told Greg that he needs to 3D print like a little like metal shelf sort of thing so we can like put them all into the little shelf. Where are you going? Did you actually already do it? No. Oh, he's like got up and I'm like, what? Did you make something? All right. Anyways, okay. I completely went off. But aren't they cute? They're not expensive either. I think there's like $2, a couple bucks for these. I don't know how much the toolboxes cost. What, you're going to show me a big one? How much was this? Oh, I don't remember. This was 20 bucks? Okay. That's just 20 bucks. This is nice. I wouldn't call this a toy. It's like metal and durable. But yeah, okay. So I guess Greg brought me a 5-gallon bucket so I could show you. We have a lot of these around here right now. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, they're really cute if you like DIY projects like we do. All right, so yes, that was quite a tangent. Okay, so let's see, will it fit on the underside of this? I don't know. It just fits. Oh my gosh, okay. Let me show you, demonstrate this. I'm gonna actually move it this way so I can see better. Okay, so here is a piece of already weeded and transferred vinyl. It's on transfer tape. So now I have to get it off the transfer tape. Always easier said than done. Let's actually burnish this down again. I'm gonna move this so you can see everything, just to make sure it is stuck. This is a project from last year. We cut this in our, well, actually it could be even older than that now that I think about it. Maybe a couple of years at this point. I don't remember when we did our reverse weeding tutorial. This is from our reverse weeding tutorial. All right. So I'm going to take it off of the backing. Oops, this little piece, I need my weeding tool. When this happens, can you see this little piece here that is not, it kind of is still stuck onto the, it's like still stuck on. You just use your weeding tool and you just kind of press it down to keep it in place. By the way, another thing that I was doing the hard way in the beginning, I was like letting it stay on the backing, and then I would like attempt to like move it with my fingers back onto here. That's definitely not the easy way. Okay, so here is a piece of vinyl that is on its backing. So normally when I would do something, I would like clean it with alcohol so there's no dust or whatever on it, but we'll just pretend like I did that. So the taco method is you want to measure this and mark the center. You could just use a piece of tape if you don't want to actually mark it. If it's like a piece of, you know, like a mat board or whatever piece of wood, you could use a little piece of pencil, then erase it. We're going to also pretend I've done that. All right. You could also take your vinyl and I do recommend you do this. And you kind of gently fold it in half and you crease the top and the bottom to find the center. Okay, so now you've got your marked, you know, your surface is marked and you've got the creases of your project, right? Or your transfer tape, the crease right here. And then you can take this on the creases, which I can see. I don't know if you can see the light's not quite falling on that, right? And you make this taco shape. See, taco shape. And you just line up your marks. And then you take your tool and you burnish from the outside out. You burnish outward, right? There we go, like this, and then like this. And then this is how you get, there's like a fold in it. We're gonna fix that if we can. I didn't notice that. This piece of vinyl was kind of folded in storage from being, you see how that is like that? We can fix that though. So let me just finish. We'll take this off because this is useful. These vinyl application tips are, it's important to know that you often have not ruined your stuff. You really, it seems like it sometimes. You're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, but it's okay. All right, so let's get all of the rest of this down here. And I was trying to see if I could, but it's kind of just making a crease there. All right, let's go ahead and take this off. When you take your, this is another thing that I was, in the beginning, I was just kind of like pulling it up like this. But Greg taught me this tip. When you remove your transfer tape, you want to like press it like all the way down against your surface to make this like sharp edge as you remove it. It stuck quite well to this. But as you can see, it's coming off good. And considering that I think that this is rather old vinyl at this point, vinyl does have an expiration date of a couple years typically. This is pretty good to me actually. All right, and then to fix this piece here, I would use my weeding tool to lift it up. Can you even see that? Yeah, you can see that. I'm going to show you the issue up close. Trying to get the light on it. There's like a fold in it, right? You would just use your weeding tool to lift it up and then smooth it down. It looks pretty good though. So that's the taco method on my cute little, it's adorable. I don't know what I'm gonna use it for yet, but I really like it. Okay. So doing this, I think that it really helps you get that perfect placement every time. There's no such thing as perfect. Remember that. It helps you get a perfect enough placement every time. And it also helps with bubbles and things being crooked. And also, most importantly, it is less stress. All right, let's talk about transfer tape, because I was definitely using this stuff the hard way. Transfer tape is how we move a vinyl design onto the surface. The first time I needed transfer tape, I went to the store and I saw that there was standard grip and strong grip, and I bought the strong grip because I'm like, that will be better. It's stronger, right? Well, you really don't want to use strong grip for the most part, except unless you're using a textured vinyl, right? So the easy fix here is to know that you want standard grip transfer tape for most projects. Let me show you the difference so that you can identify it. Okay, so it will say on the label, but it's not always that obvious. I don't know why. I wish it was more. Okay, so this is a roll of standard grip Cricut transfer tape. It says Cricut transfer tape on it. Okay, but we don't actually know. Do you know? Is this standard grip or strong grip? Do you know? Tell me in the chat if you know, because I know and I'm going to tell you. Okay, so the gray stuff with the gray lines, this is standard grip. This is your best friend when it comes to projects, standard grip, okay? The strong grip stuff, and in this case it does say, I don't think it always does, has purple lines. See this? Purple lines. So if you pick up some transfer tape from your room, you're like, I am not sure because it doesn't say what it is. The gray lines are standard grip and the purple lines are strong grip. Okay, so don't forget that. Also, and I like to share this tip because so many people don't realize it. If you get a roll of Cricut vinyl and you're not sure what to use for it, this is what you do. I've got some vinyl right here. You open it up, and this works with the new roll that you haven't messed with. And you look inside, and if there is a piece of strong grip transfer tape in it, like there is in this one, then you know you want to use it. They hide a piece of strong grip transfer tape, very helpfully really, in any vinyl from Cricut that needs it. So this is shimmer. This is shimmer vinyl, and shimmer vinyl has this. It has a texture to it. It's very pretty, but it's got like it's not like sandpaper, but it's got like a really light texture to it, and that makes it difficult to use the standard grip transfer tape. So they put a piece of strong grip in it. Yeah. So use this when it's in there. That is the simplest way to remember what to use. That said, if you used it up and then now you forgot, just remember if it's textured. So glitter, shimmer, or there's also ones that like have a pattern, a raised pattern. You want to use the strong grip for that. Now, sometimes let me just get my, okay. So sometimes this regular light grip transfer tape is too strong, right? So when your transfer tape is too strong, it's so hard to get your vinyl off. It's really, really difficult. That was totally one of the things that I struggled with big time in the beginning. Was like I'm spending like an hour trying to get my vinyl off of my transfer tape. So if this is too strong, there are things you can do, right? So you can use a piece of transfer tape that you've already used before. This is the piece from our decal that we use for the taco method, right? As you can, it's like used, right? It's not as sticky. But that helps, right? So save your transfer tape. You can reuse this stuff like 5-10 times depending on how you treat it and how you use it. So save your transfer tape. But if you didn't save any, or even that seems too strong, there's a couple other options. Well, first, you can use a new piece and then you can like kind of stick it to your sweater or your pants, and it'll pick up some lint and that will make it less sticky. So if you're in a pinch. But you can also use something like press and seal. So this is a sticky plastic wrap. It is not anywhere near as sticky, and you might find it helpful. I also used painter's tape and masking tape. Also not as sticky, also can really make a difference, right? So especially if you're wanting to transfer vinyl onto a surface that's very delicate, and regular transfer tape might actually take some of it off, right? Which can happen like with paint or whatever. So you want to use a more delicate transfer medium. Okay. All right, here's another one, number 16. In the beginning, I was making things really hard for myself by using the wrong kind of vinyl. So if your project calls for adhesive vinyl, please, please, please don't be tempted to use removable vinyl instead of permanent vinyl unless it specifically calls for it. Removable vinyl is a lot harder to cut because it tends to slide around on the backing. Just avoid it whenever you can. Only use it for applications where it truly has to be removable. So if you're putting it like on the wall or on something that you know you're going to take it off of, fine, use it. But it's just a lot harder to work with. And a lot of times when someone says, I'm struggling to weed this, and their design looks okay, and I ask what kind of vinyl they're using, they say, well, I'm using removable. And I'm like, that's the issue. It's just tough. It doesn't like stick to the backing as well. So when you pull it off, you kind of pull the whole thing off like that. And that leads me to talking about what kind of vinyl you have, because a lot of you, I think, are trying to figure that out the hard way too. So let's grab some vinyl here. We got this stuff, and let's get some different vinyls. Got a bunch of vinyl here. Just gonna straighten things up just a little bit. You gonna help me? Just whatever you want. Oh, well, thank you. I just taking a moment to straighten up my messy desk so it doesn't look quite so chaotic. Yeah, if you want to take these things that have nothing to do with what we're talking about today, you can do that. Thank you. All right, is this better? One of my plastic covers is kind of all over the place there. Okay, that's better. Oh. All right. Okay, I got some vinyl here. So we're going to talk about how the easier way to tell what kind of vinyl you have. Okay, so if it's still in the packaging, yay, because you can always check the packaging. It'll actually say right on here what kind it is. So this is permanent glossy, right? So what do you do though if it's already opened? So you can check the backing material, because Cricut usually prints what it is right on the back. So this is permanent premium vinyl, right? It's right on the back. And if that doesn't help you because iron-on vinyl isn't printed, it doesn't say that. What I recommend you do is take a weeding tool or your fingernail if you don't have one for some reason, you lost it or whatever, and you just peel back the edge of it, just the corner. Here, this green one. So you can see here, this also says permanent. And you just, not from that side, from this side, and you just peel it back, okay? And when you peel it back, you can tell if it's adhesive vinyl or iron-on vinyl. And in the beginning, sometimes it's just really hard. You're like, what, isn't there only one kind of vinyl, right? So if it's sticky, it's adhesive vinyl. If it's not sticky, it's iron-on vinyl. Okay, so, and we're talking about the vinyl part, not the backing of it, but the vinyl part. And then once you know what kind it is, mark it so you aren't guessing the next time. If it's a roll, like this is a good one. Let's roll this one back up. This one had a label, right? This is a label I took off earlier, right? If you've got a roll of vinyl, I recommend you take this label that came with it and just go like this and just stick it right in there. Like, because I awkwardly try to do it. And you just stick it right in there like this. And then it's with the vinyl and you're not guessing, and you can just come over here and be like, oh, look, I remembered to put the label in. And so I now know what it is, right? And you know now that this is shimmer vinyl, right? You might be able to tell, but sometimes you can't, right? And it really helps to help you remember. But you know, there's not always a label like the Caesar stuff here. It's got a tape label, which I probably would lose, right? What would happen is I would take this off and I would set it down, and then that would be it for me. I would lose it. So you can do the same thing. You could put something inside the center here. Might be a good idea to like put this in there. I suspect I would lose this though. I just know me. Because I literally would just take it off and stick it on the side of my desk. So what I recommend is just keeping a roll of painter's tape around, and you can just always mark it if you've lost your label. Or you can do things like this. So this is a slap band, if you remember those. They're like, they're supposed to be like bracelet kind of things. Can you see my arm? You go like this, right? But you can use them on vinyl. They work really well for that. And you can just write and like marker what it is. Ready? I like this part. Right, so this keeps it together, and it also lets you identify it. And they're reusable, so they're really useful. Kim asks, do you know when vinyl is too old, not good to use? So my suggestion here is, if this is really a big deal to you, write when you bought it on your label. That said, you don't know how long it's been sitting in the warehouse or on the shelf, so it may not even be accurate. There is no expiration date ever printed on vinyl, as far as I know. So mostly I tell by when I go to use it. If it doesn't seem like it's weeding well, but I know it should be, or if it doesn't seem like it's sticking well, and I know it should be, then I'm like, I think I need some new vinyl. That's it. That's my scientific method. Just plain old you trying it, right? That's it. Okay. I see a tip here. I keep my vinyl in separate, wait, no, where was it? Okay. Jill says I use empty toilet paper rolls and write what it is, which is a great idea. Totally. All right. Number 18. All right. Something else that I did the hard way in the beginning was the way that I cut my vinyl to put it on my mat. I'm going to demonstrate this one too. I would try to measure and cut out just the right size from the roll. And I swear half the time I got it wrong. And it wouldn't be big enough, and I'd have to recut it. So the easy fix for this is just to put the leading edge of the material on your mat. Let me show you what I mean, right? This is pretty cool. So here is a mat. So instead of cutting out this vinyl, we'll do it like this. You keep it on the roll. Okay, that's the key. You keep it on the roll. Let's just take it off, all of this extra here, because it was combined. So you don't cut it to size. You just put it on your mat, right? And then you put it in your machine, and you just keep this kind of rolled up here like this. You just want to make sure that you have enough of the material stuck down on your mat so that it fills your design, but you just keep it on the roll. Can you see what I'm doing here? You just keep it on there, and then you put it in the machine, and it cuts it, and then when you're done, you just flip it. You just roll it back up right onto the roll. And this saves a lot of waste, and it saves It saves time because you don't have to cut it out. It saves waste, and it saves material too, because when there's like a margin, always whenever we cut. And when you do it this way, you get to save like, a half an inch or whatever. It could add up over time. It could. And you can still, even if you cut like a piece out, you can still put it on there like that. You just got to make sure you've got your material in the spot that it's going to cut. That's all you got to do. Okay, now at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that there was a tip that I had forgotten all about but was reminded of recently. This is the one I want you to tell me if you know about, okay? So, paper behaves differently on a humid day. Did you know this? Cardstock that is even slightly damp can become nearly impossible to cut cleanly. I learned this summer. My air conditioner stopped working. Thankfully, that was years ago now. And I'd forgotten until just recently when I saw someone struggling. If you at all suspect that you have damp cardstock, get out a sheet from an unopened pack of paper, or you can try gently heating your cardstock with like an easy press to remove moisture, gently heating it. So let's also just talk about cardstock, because so many people struggle with this. I did too in the beginning, but I learned pretty quickly that, actually, I would say that I had an unfair advantage when it came to paper, because I worked with paper for a really long time when I worked in a print shop when I was putting myself through college. So I understood paper and its quirks. So not all paper is the same. So a low quality paper, it's like night and day when it goes to cutting. And it's especially true with white paper. White is one of the hardest papers to cut. So always get high quality cardstock. It makes such a difference. Always get it, whenever you can, at least get solid core cardstock. That means that it's dyed all the way through, not just printed on top. It also is another sign of a good quality cardstock. And then I want to actually show you the white cardstocks that I use successfully, because I know so many people struggle with this. So I got some out for you. Doris Premium Cardstock. We use this a lot in our projects. This stuff works really, really well. Note that I am keeping it completely in its packaging to avoid moisture. Cardstock Warehouse, another excellent one. We use this a lot. This is Sweet Tooth, but it's white. AC Cardstock. AC stands for American Crafts. They have excellent cardstock. A lot of times it's textured, so if you prefer that, I don't know, I doubt you can see the texture. Oh yeah, there we go. You can kind of see that there. They have really beautiful cardstock. Cricut cardstock is also really good. Harder to find though. They don't sell that in a local craft store, and also it comes in and out of stock. These, however, are reliable cardstocks. I buy my cardstock on Amazon. These are also not in the craft store. The stuff in the craft store and Michael's Recollections is good. But I use a lot of Recollections. But AC Cardstock, Cardstock Warehouse, and Doris are all really reliable white cardstock brands. Okay? So pay attention to your cardstocks. All right, we're now at tip number 20, and this one is about, this is an important one. Another thing that people do the hard way is thinking their projects are going to come out exactly the way they picture in their minds, basically perfect, and then feel frustrated or even defeated when they don't. I also learned this the hard way. I used to think that a good crafter never messed up, but the truth is every crafter messes up. I have been doing this for such a long time. I mess up all the time. Sometimes the vinyl wrinkles, as you saw earlier. Sometimes the mat slips. Sometimes you realize you put something in upside down. It's okay. The easy fix here is to let go of perfection. Easier said than done, I know. But think this is practice. Every mistake teaches you something about your materials, your settings, your Cricut, yourself. Most of your favorite projects will start out as an oops, and that turns into something even better. For real. So instead of aiming for perfection, I want you to aim for done and aim for having fun and aim for learning, because it's just not going to be perfect anyway. And it's really important to set that expectation up in your mind. Another thing I think many of us are doing the hard way is trying to figure out Cricut crafting completely on our own. We're searching Google for random answers, or trying to piece together through tutorials, struggling through projects, and no one to help us out, right? It can really feel really frustrating and isolating. Like everyone else must know how to do this, and they know all the secrets that you don't know. The easy fix here is to learn with other crafters. Join events and communities where people share their tips, discoveries, and even their mistakes. The chat today is full of them. This is a great place because this is where the real magic happens. When you see others solving the same challenges that you're facing, you feel like more confident about this. I have a Cricut group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. Everyone is welcome to join. And I have an even better way to do this right now, Maker Mingle, my free holiday online event. We have over 24 Cricut workshops, all with easy to follow projects and a whole awesome community of supportive makers who love to make things just like you. You can watch just to learn, pick up things, craft along with us. And most importantly, you can see that you're not doing this alone. And you're going to come away with new ideas, new confidence, and new friends. If you haven't gotten on the gift list yet for Maker Mingle, you can do it at marymakermingle.com. We start in less than a week, and it is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait to do this with you. We are starting early this year, and which, as you can tell, I'm here early, and earlier than I would have done it last year, and it's going to be really awesome. And I will share some of our projects when we're finished with our class today so that you can see them. Okay, and I think I'm down to my last one here. All right, number 22. Something else I think many people do the hard way is overloading with information and not retaining or practicing what they learned, or you forget it, right, the next day. So I highly recommend you take notes. Take notes of what you've learned and what works for you. You can keep a notebook if you want. I recommend that always. But I have an easy fix for today's class because I've already taken the notes for you. I have a cheat sheet of everything that I talked about today. It is at jennifermaker.com/CricutEasier. All right, so here is the link. Go to that link. It's really simple. It's just a little form. It's nothing fancy. It is literally just the notes. I made it this morning in preparation for today. So I was worried that I would forget something. And I'm like, I should just share this with everybody. So I very quickly saved it because it was just a Google Doc. I just quickly saved it and put it into this form. So you can go there and you can get it. It's I think it's 2 pages, 3 pages. And it's all listed in the order that we talked about today. And it's got some helpful links in there too. I might even go back in and update it too. So if anything, as we talk, as you ask questions, I'll go in there and update it too. We'll see. So go get the cheat sheet. And it'll help you remember, because this is a big deal, right? There's no point to just getting all this stuff if you don't actually remember it and can pull it up when you need it. And then of course I want you to practice. I want you to make things. That's why I do what I do. I could do so many things in my life, but the thing that I keep coming back to is teaching, because I love to make a difference in your life, and I love it when you tell me that I did. It's that simple. All right, I'd love to answer your questions now. My team has been collecting some questions for me. I have a lot of questions, but we'll see what we can do. Terry says, and I'm just going to go in the order, so these might be kind of out of order. Terry says, is there a chance to win a VIP pass? That is a great question. I didn't even think about that. All of our giveaways are for things like advanced and ebooks, but not for the VIP passes. I think that's a great idea. So I could do that. Yes. So the Maker Mingle giveaway is already active. If you aren't a part of it, go right now in a new window. Don't lose me. Go to marymakermingle.com, sign up, and you'll get an email, and the email will lead you to the giveaway form. You can also just go to jennifermaker.com/Cricut giveaway. That will also lead you there. Anyways, make sure you're entered in the giveaway, and later tonight, I will pick a name and I will give away a VIP pass. The VIP pass is new this year. It is something that people have requested every year, but because we did Maker Academy weekend, like really right before Maker Mingle, it was just too much to do for us to do, because it's a lot of work to all these moving pieces, right? But this year, since I couldn't do Maker Academy weekend because of my surgery, I thought it would be really cool to offer it. So we have a VIP pass that gives you early and easier access to all the content. So you can start right now, a quick start guide, a kind of crazy 3-hour video with me where we just sit together and drink cocoa and work on projects. Like seriously, it's like a very casual video. Yeah, that was fun to make, and a bunch of other bonuses. So that's what the VIP pass is. So get yourself on that giveaway before, the end of the day today. We'll say midnight tonight, and I will draw a name and you'll get an email. Any winner receives will get an email. I won't tell you, if you ever get some random private message from someone saying that you won something from me, you can guarantee that's not me and they're trying to scam you. So don't fall for that. All right. Lori says, does this process work with all blades? I have the deep cut and a few other blades. Yes, the cleaning process works with all the blades. Clean your blades, keep them clean. It makes a difference. Yes. Use your alcohol to get them clean. I really don't buy new blades. And I've been cricketing. Is that a verb? I've been doing this for just about 9 years now. Yeah, you can bring me some tea. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. It's nice. Yeah, I don't usually talk this long. I have to work back up to this. All right, Amy says, does the rubbing alcohol work better than the foil? This is the controversial part. In my opinion, I prefer the aluminum foil still, because I just keep it right in here. It's so easy. I don't have to the alcohol prep pads or the bottle of alcohol. I mean, I don't know. It's just more work. And more work means I might not do it, or I might be frustrated and I might walk off. So I think it's better. But some people think that the aluminum foil can push the adhesive and the glitter up into the housing, which I imagine that it could. So your mileage may vary. You decide what you want to do, right? I haven't had that problem though. So I'm good with the aluminum foil ball. Susan asks, how about using Dawn dish soap to clean your mats? Yes, you can use Dawn dish soap, but don't use that power wash stuff. I think that's Dawn. That's got something extra in it. Use the regular stuff, the stuff that they clean the little ducks with. You know what I'm talking about, right? Greg's laughing at me. When there was an oil spill or whatever, back in the 80s, there was a whole PR campaign and they were cleaning the ducks with them. Whatever. I might be misremembering that. Jen says, do you ever need to change the housing? I've heard people say they need a new housing, not necessarily a new blade. No, I have never needed to change my housing. The reason why they might need a new housing is because they used a different type of blade. So if you use the deep cut blade, it uses the deep cut housing, which is black, right? That's basically it, right? Sometimes people have lost their housing too, but they have a pack of blades, so they need a new housing. That's it. You don't need to change it other than that I know of. Susan says, I'm sorry, I got that one. Meg says, are you going to have a shoe cam this year? Your festive shoes are amazing. We shall see. So this year we've added, because we have multiple areas that we're working in, we have more cameras. But one of the cameras we added can kind of float between our two areas, and we can put a zoom on it that we couldn't do before. So I might be able to use that one as the shoe cam. I do have cute shoes on today. They're not new shoes. You might have seen them before, but I do have cute shoes. I'll try to remember to show you when we go back over there. Mural. I apologize. I'm getting that wrong. Oh, I lost that one. Sorry. No, it's here. Can you tell us how to clean the card mats? I use this method and it removed the stickiness. I have not attempted to do this with the card mats. I think the card mats are indeed using a different adhesive on them. They definitely feel different, and they work differently too. So I haven't done that. I haven't cleaned those, so I don't have the answer for you. I'm sorry. Does anybody else know? Has anyone tried to clean the card mats and can give us some advice? That would be awesome. Put it in the chat, please. Lois says, Lois says, what do you do for the mat when you can see a lot of cut marks from your blade? So a mat with light scratches is totally normal. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really make a difference. But if you've got a lot, and it's just so they're everywhere, at that point you just probably need a new mat. I mean, I do consider mats to be consumable. I just don't think we have to change them quite so often, get a new one quite so often. So you probably just need a new one at that point. They won't last forever. Something else that you can do that a lot of people forget about is a lot of people, here's our hook, right? So here's the hook. And a lot of times people, mostly they put the material on and they're cutting in this area. And so this part becomes the most used and it gets the most cut marks. But you can cut your mat with this edge in. It's the same shape. So if you turn your mat 180 degrees, you might find that you can get more life out of your mat that way. So that's something you could try if it's looking like that for you. Okay, here. Michelle says, do you have a trick for lining up the mat cover? I do. Let's see if I can do it. I use my Cricut for it. And this one doesn't have its mat on, so it's perfect. What I do is I take my mat and I put it into the holder at the top, which is intended for like an iPad or whatever, right? And then I take my mat, doing this sideways, so we'll see if I can get it. And I set it into the groove with it. Let's do it standing up, because that's really tricky. Right, so I just put it into the mat, into the groove right there, and then I just let it go back and it goes on perfectly. So that's my trick for putting the plastic back onto the mat. All right. Next we have Orilla says, is there a way to get rid of extra mats once you move the items off in design space? No, but it just ignores them. So if your mat is empty, it just doesn't cut them. So you could just let that go. Like it's okay. Just ignore them and it won't cut them. Terry says, how do I get the grid lines to match up? They never do from screen to mat. If you're having trouble, my recommendation is to check to see if your design space needs some updates and restart it. We've been seeing some problems with that lately. So I think that's a them problem, not a you problem. So that's what I would do. When in doubt, restart. I had to do that this morning. Not with Cricut Design Space, but with other software. Christy says, if you have several small pieces of different colors, can you move from one mat to another using the 3 dots? Yes. So you don't have to change them to the same color in advance. I just like to do that. You can actually just move them when you're in that preview screen, and it just puts, it puts it on the mat and it just changes it to the same color. So yes, you can totally do that. You just use those 3 dots to move them over. Marie says, sometimes even though I line up with the mat grid lines, it doesn't cut properly. Is this a design space error? So if your cuts aren't quite in the same spot, yes, it could be a design space error. It could also be the way you're inserting your mat. So a problem that I had in the beginning when I was learning my Cricut was I was just putting my mat in like this. Not like that. I did better. I did put it under the guide. So I just put it in like this, and then I went to cut. And like half the time it wouldn't work, and I didn't understand why. Other times it did work, but it didn't feed very well. It kind of like fed like halfway through. So it would start and nothing was happening, but then it figured it out and it caught it, the little wheels, but it was off. It's like cuts were off, right? So when you put your, I don't know if you can see this. Hey, Greg, I'm going to have you move the camera so that it can see what I'm looking at right now. Would you do that for me? Because I didn't position it very well to start with. I want to be able to see the bottom of this mat with the camera there. Thank you. And while you do that, I'm taking a drink of tea. But make it so that we can see more of the bottom, you know. There you go. Thank you. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so when you put your mat into the machine, hold the bottom like this, right? So I just kind of press on it gently, and that gives me the right feet on my mat, right? So you kind of nudge it, you give it a little pressure when it's going in. That really helps. And then also, there was something else. Oh, yes. So if you're having this problem and that's not helping, and you think maybe it's a design space issue, which it could be, space your stuff out a little bit more so that if the cuts are off on your mat, it's not off on your material. And so, bring it in from the edges, bring it in from the top and bottom, and then, I mean, that's at least a workaround, right? So that you can keep moving forward. We have a lot of workarounds around here. As Greg said this morning, when a piece of equipment failed, I got up. We've been working really hard to get everything set up, and this morning I got up and I was testing everything, and it failed. Like it stopped working completely. I'm on Reddit trying to figure it out. No go. And we're like, okay, well, we have to swap it out with something older that doesn't quite fit. And he's like, we're gonna have to MacGyver it, but we MacGyver a lot of things, and it's okay. It's working right now. So. Okay, Terry says, would you still have to do a separate mat if a single piece has to be mirrored? So you must mirror an entire mat at once. You can't do just one or the other. So yes, that would have to be separate if it's mirrored, but you could mirror it in back, in your design area. You can just, flip it before you go to send it to your Cricut. So you can there's still a workaround for that. Michelle says, when you put vinyl behind the cardstock, what setting should you use for the intricate cuts? You want to use the cardstock for intricate cuts setting, and you want to add more pressure to it. And I have a whole tutorial on this, so you don't have to guess. I'm sure there's some other tips in there too. And it is design 616. So you can find all of my tutorials by just going to the number. So when I give you the number, you go to jennifermaker.com/ and the number. So in this case, it would be jennifermaker.com/616. And that leads you to that tutorial. Betsy says, is there an expiration for unused HTV, or does it last forever? Oh, no, it doesn't last forever. It can get brittle and the adhesive can break down over time. 2 to 3 years is the official as in the world, not Cricut. I don't think Cricut's ever necessarily made an official, they don't print it on their labels or anything like that. But yeah, so if you're not sure, do a test. Always test. If that's one thing that you can come away with today, it would be to test everything. Trishy says, I've seen a lot of vinyl at Dollar Tree. Is it any good? So I tried it. No, it's not as good, but if you like it, use it. It's totally fine. I know some people who like it. Most people, I would say, don't like it. I mean, it's $1.25, right? So it's gonna be hard. It's a lot thinner, harder to work with, harder to weed. It's not as good of a quality. So it is probably fine for some things though, you know. I'm not the person who will tell you have to get the most expensive, most premium stuff ever. Like I love saving money. So you could, if, you know, it might depend on your project. When you're first learning, however, I wouldn't recommend it because it is trickier to work with. Gina says, how do you know if the paper has too much moisture in it? You can tell, like when you touch it, if it feels like if there's any kind of like damp quality to it, that I can tell. And like we're not normally looking for that, so we're probably not paying attention to it. But also, if you are working in an unair conditioned place and it's humid, then you know, that's another indication. Like I said, I discovered this when my air conditioning went out and I didn't even think anything of it. I'm like, I just have to suffer through this is what I was thinking. But like a couple of weeks into it, I noticed that my paper felt damp. And then, you know, when I went to cut it, I'm like, what is wrong with my paper? I didn't even like put the two together. I just thought it was damp. And then I figured it out. So you can tell by the way it feels or if it's humid where you are or you're not keeping it in a dry spot, right? Cindy says, does the GSM matter or do you look at the weight? And what is the best weight for cardstock? Most crafting paper has consistent GSM, but for different weight categories. I personally go by weight. So in my tutorials, you'll see me talk about 65 pounds, that's the weight, or 80 pounds, or even less typically 105 or 110 pound, right? So I go by the weight. And that said, you might be asking this question because of material settings. And you might think to yourself, well, 65 pound is light cardstock and 80 pound is medium cardstock. But in fact, that's not how I think of it. I think of anything from 65 to 85 pound as being medium cardstock. Anything above that is being heavy cardstock. I like basically never use the light cardstock setting. So that helps. If it also helps to understand, because if you order cardstock from overseas, they tend to use GSM instead of paperweight. And a member of my team helpfully wrote this down for me. This is not going by memory. 65 pound is 176 GSM. 80 pound is 218 GSM. 110 pound is 200 GSM. Remember, GSM is not a direct equivalent of paper weight. There's different reasons. You know, there's different things going on there. But I work in weight because that's when I worked at the print shop, we used weight all the time. All right, it looks like I've come to the end of these questions, which is good because I want to have time to talk about Maker Mingle. Ellen, I'm going to answer this one last question. Ellen says, will I be able to rewatch later? Yes. So let me go over how our replays are going to work. And this is going to be true all throughout Maker Mingle. I will leave the replay up for 24 hours untouched. I won't mess with it. So you can watch all the mistakes, all the chatter, all the rambles and the side quests and whatever else happens. And also like there'll be Maker Mingle talk in it and the bonus words, the games we play, stuff like that. I'll just leave it all there for 24 hours. But what I've been doing the last few years is I go back in later after I've had a little rest and I edit the videos and I edit out that extra stuff that people on YouTube generally don't want. You know, you've heard them all say, oh man, I wish you'd get to the point and stop talking. Which I get because I feel that way too when I watch a video. So what I do is I edit out that stuff and I start with our class or our topic of the day. And I do them all throughout Maker Mingle. The way it works is I'll like talk about the thing and what we're going to do that day and stuff. And then I'll be coming over here and we'll be talking about something. Maybe vinyl, maybe transfer tape, maybe I'll have something to unbox. Maybe I'll just be giving you some motivation. I don't even know what I'm doing this year. I'm going to do it as I feel like it as we go along. And then we go back and we do our bonus word and our giveaway and whatever else we're doing for Maker Mingle. but and then I edit it down so it's just that useful part that, you know, in a year or 5 years is still helpful to someone. Because, you know, Maker Mingle in 2021 perhaps is not so useful, but those videos I made from back then are still on YouTube helping people, the ones where they're just like the topics. So that's what I do. So yes, you just want to watch it right away. If you are a VIP, however, I will upload all of the replays to your dashboard and you can watch them all as much as you like, and you know, all that stuff. Okay. Jamie says, don't overdo it. I'm being careful. I promise I am. I've seen many people mention this. We are spacing them out. I have rest days, and we're starting earlier. So that means that the holiday rush isn't quite so heavy on me. And so I think I'm going to be okay, but I promise I'll be careful. All right. Well, I'll probably edit out a lot of that stuff too, just so you know. Okay. So if you have any questions that I didn't answer, please come on over to my Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters and post your question there. Or you can just leave it below this video and we'll do our best to answer. We do read all of our comments, and when we're able to, we always answer our questions. And that's it for today for our Cricut class. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.